Okay, let's try and unpack this. Imagine you see this really striking artwork. Visually, it feels digital, right?
Hmm.
Abstract, sort of fragmented black shapes,
Hmm.
sharp white background, almost like pixels.
Very graphic.
But then you learn it's actually traditional gouache, a painting,
Mhm.
done entirely by hand.
Right. Which is kind of mind-bending when you first see it.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting, because this piece, it's by an artist named Dominic Money. It's not just this visual trick, this paradox. It actually opens up, well, a whole deep dive into one of philosophy's big questions.
The nature of the self,
What?
especially now with technology blurring everything.
That's it. Our mission today is really to understand how this specific painting becomes a kind of mirror for what's called the punctual and vanishing subject.
A concept that goes way back to René Descartes.
Yeah, back to Descartes.
And what's fascinating here is, Monet's whole background sort of sets the stage for this perfectly. He works across traditional painting, video art, even street art,
Yeah.
always looking at that human-machine interaction.
Huh?
He even made this instrument, he calls it the brushographer.
The brushographer. What's that?
Well, it's not just a tool, really. It's more a symbol of this whole dialogue he's interested in. He talks about it allowing the artist to converse with the machine, not just control it.
Converse, not control.
Hmm.
That's interesting. It hints at something less rigid.
Exactly. A more decentralized creative process. Human agency isn't just about total command.
So he's already thinking about the shifting role of, like, the human hand in making art, which is fascinating. Then you look closely at this specific gouache painting we started with. It's very stark. Those black shapes on the white background. It looks almost like a fractured landscape, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And right in the middle, there's this dense field. Tiny, separate black dots. Loads of them.
Granular, yeah.
Each dot is just a discrete point, a punctual mark, you could say. It almost looks like digital static or pixelation, but you remember it's all done by hand.
Precisely. And that punctual quality, those individual dots, they link directly to Descartes' cogitation.
His thoughts.
Yeah, the individual thoughts or perceptions that, for Descartes, were the absolute foundation of the thinking I. For him, your core self, sometimes called the punctual I, it's this single point of pure consciousness.
Right, the I think, therefore I am, stripping everything else away.
Exactly. Achieved by radically doubting everything external. So those dots in the painting, they're kind of like Descartes' isolated thoughts, each one certain but separate, together forming that core.
Okay, so the dots are the punctual bit. I get that. But what about the vanishing part of the punctual and vanishing subject? Because the painting also has these other areas, top and bottom, where the forms seem, they seem to be swirling, almost disintegrated, just sort of dissolving away.
Absolutely. That's the vanishing aspect. You see, Descartes' punctual I had a big problem.
Which was?
How does this isolated, purely thinking mind actually connect with the physical world, with the body, with everything outside?
The mind-body problem.
Essentially, yes. He really struggled with how the subject could be embodied in the world without losing that distinct certainty he started with. So the dissolving forms in Monet's painting, they visualize that struggle, that inherent elusiveness of the self when it tries to grasp or integrate with an external reality. It can't fully pin down or control.
Like his coherence starts to fray at the edges.
Precisely. It starts to sort of vanish into the world it's trying to understand.
And the fact that he uses gouache, this traditional, very physical, tactile medium, not digital tools, to create something that looks so digital.
Yeah.
That feels like the core paradox here. A human hand deliberately mimicking a machine's output.
That's the crucial point. And this is where thinkers who came after Descartes, like Heidegger, offer some important context. Andrei Medved, a philosopher who writes about money, brings this in.
Okay, Heidegger.
Right. Heidegger, for instance, strongly critiqued Descartes' idea of a separate mind. He argued that human existence, Dasein, is fundamentally being in the world. We aren't separate minds looking at the world. We're inherently part of it, connected.
So we're always embodied, always situated.
Exactly. Now, Monet's gouache, by mimicking the digital aesthetic so perfectly by hand, becomes what some might call a simulacrum.
A copy without an original, or where the original is lost.
Sort of. It raises this really interesting question. Can the, let's say, raw emotional spirit of art, and maybe by extension, the human subject itself, stay pure or authentic when the human hand consciously adopts the visual language of the machine?
So the vanishing isn't just an internal philosophical puzzle from Descartes' time. It's being externalized now, maybe intensified by how technology is blurring our experiences.
You could definitely argue that.
We risk becoming kind of indistinguishable from machine-generated data points,
Mhm.
almost vanishing as distinct human subjects.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a pretty deep anxiety.
It does tap into that anxiety, yes. Mani's choice using traditional gouache, but also embracing advanced tools elsewhere, like his brushographer becomes this powerful metaphor. It reflects the struggle of human agency today. Descartes' punctual subject wanted absolute certainty, maybe absolute control through reason.
Right. But the brushographer needing that conversation between artist and machine suggests giving up some of that absolute control,
A collaboration, almost.
or at least an interaction that changes both sides.
Yeah.
So the painting itself, the gouache one, becomes a kind of performance of this potential loss of clear subjective agency. The human hand is reflecting the very mechanisms that seem to challenge its traditional, maybe romanticized autonomy.
It really makes you ask, can the essence of painting, or maybe the human subject, truly transcend its origin, whether mechanical or manual, when the manual starts imitating the mechanical?
That's the question it poses.
So, thinking about all this, what does it really mean for you, for us, navigating this increasingly digital world today? Mani's painting, with those punctual dots and those vanishing forms, it's not just illustrating some dusty 17th century philosophical problem, is it?
Not at all.
It feels like it's showing us how that problem is still incredibly alive, maybe evolving, maybe even intensifying right now in the 21st century. And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, maybe the vanishing isn't necessarily about a final disappearance, a complete erasure of the subject. It raises a really important question, I think. If Descartes' subject always struggled to feel truly in the world, does modern technology just make it vanish completely? Or does it actually force the subject to reconstitute itself, to find new ways of being, new ways of defining itself within this technological entanglement?
Reconstitute, so change its form.
Perhaps. It really pushes us to consider how the very essence, if we can use that word, of human perception and selfhood might be transforming, how it's being challenged, maybe even redefined through this constant dynamic interaction with the very forces that sometimes seem to threaten it.
So maybe the authentic subject isn't just disappearing.
Maybe it persists, even if it looks different now, even if it's constantly evolving, maybe more fragmented, always being reconfigured by its environment. Perhaps that constant change is the new form of persistence.